we apply its terminology, we apply its execution to documents such as official emails, notifications, memos, proposal writing, report writing. These are all these areas where we apply technical writing. So today's session, we will be working on the exact definition of technical writing, and also we'll be talking about technical writing and academic writing differences today. The major function of a technical writing is to give an access to specific information. Technical writing is a kind of a document that does not allow for pleasure reading. And when you are forcing the reader to read a particular kind of boring document, you have to make sure that the specific information is there so that it's easy to scoop out the required or demanded information and to proceed with that. And whenever you're presenting a specific information, make sure you are incorporating a lot of headings and subheadings so that the reader does not have to go through passages after passages. He just moves to a specific paragraph with a particular heading and he takes out his required information from that. Next important factor of technical writing is that you always have to give clear information. There is no room for providing double meanings to the reader. Thinking that might be this meaning would be understood by the reader because I know the meaning. Make sure that you're not beating about the bush, you are clear about the words, you're clear about the meanings, you're giving specific information with headings and subheadings so that the reader grasps the meaning quickly and executes the mission. So you'll have to keep in mind the style of words and phrases and sentence structure. Make sure that your writing is uncomplicated. For example, when we say we need to determine how much money we'll need next year, now this seems to be quite confusing right now. Why is it confusing? Because when we read the phrase next year, we are unsure about whether we are talking about next year's project, next year's budget. So we are not sure which particular area we are referring funding for. So to make it more easier for the reader to understand, we will add the word as budget. Your writing should be straightforward. If you are unclear about the usage of a particular word, it's better not to use that word. Sometimes the problem is that we have a bank of vocabulary, but they usually do not have an idea where to use a particular word because they lack reading skills. Always remember, when you would have good reading skills or you have good reading habits, your structure would automatically be more developed, more polished. But if you lack reading skills or if you do not like to read, you will never be able to actually devise a good sentence or you will not be able to have a good vocabulary. Now notice in this sentence, we need to ascertain the amount of funding for next year's budget. Now this word ascertain, the other party might not know the meaning of this word. They might not understand the application of this word. So to keep things clear and to keep things and to make sure that things are done quickly, it's better to use the word determine, which is an alternate of ascertain, but in a more easier language. The word ascertain can be used provided you know that you're writing to seniors and they already have that word bank. But if you're writing to juniors, it's important to use simple language. When you are talking to non-technical audience, make sure you're not using jargon. Jargon is a specific language related to a specific group of people. For example, there are so many chemical engineering terms that I am not aware of. So if you will start showing off your vocabulary of chemical engineering to me, I'm sorry, I won't be impressed. I would be left confused. You should avoid jargon, or you should use jargon only with technical audience or with particular audience, whom you think they would already have an idea what that particular word means. For example, if you're talking to non-technical people and you're telling them, don't forget your PPE for lab, they will never get you instruction. What is the meaning of PPE? But if you will be talking to a person who has been visiting laboratories frequently, you'll be able to understand the word. PPE stands for personal protective equipment, such as gloves, lab coats. It's important to distinguish between technical and non-technical audience. Now I'll share a very interesting case study with you. Case studies are examples that can be applied to real life. There's a customer who has used an industrial solution XYZ for keeping the drains in his home clean, and he writes to the company that your product was amazing. And he writes a complimentary note to the company, and the company writes back to him, "Thank you for writing. The product XYZ has a high vitriolic base. This sulfuric property is excellent for industrial plumbing. We have several solutions for cleaning residential drains. You may want to consider using some of our other excellent products." Now notice, this note is being sent to a non-technical person who is appreciating the company for their drainage product that he has used in his house. This company is trying to tell that person that the drainage product that you've used, it's not meant for residential places. So this message was sent to that person, and that person said promptly, "I agree. Product XYZ is excellent for keeping the drains in my home clean. I think it's clear, it's decided that XYZ is the only solution I need to continue using." Now, because he was a non-technical person, the usage of words such as sulfuric property and vitriolic base was something unknown to him. He was not able to understand the meanings of these terms. Hence, he decoded, he understood that you are talking about, that you are actually appreciating the same thing. And when the company received this response, they quickly responded back by two very simple sentences. They said, "Do not use product XYZ. Misuse will destroy residential plumbing." These two clear and very exact sentences would have been more helpful if they would have been generated earlier. So you can also say that sometimes we misunderstand what and how should we be communicating with the other person. It's important to understand what kind of audience you're talking to. Only then you'll be able to generate an effective technical writing document. Now, there are some main differences between academic writing and technical writing, and those main differences are related to purpose, format, and language. These are the three areas that you will be focusing upon when you'll be producing your technical document. Academic writing is meant to be received by the receiver, but I'd say there's an important aspect to that. An academic writing may have a reader or it may not have a reader. Academic writing is about writing poems or writing about stories or writing about books or assignments. So you will be very particular for choosing a particular poem or story or an assignment to be read. So there are chances that a reader might not read your document and a reader might read your document. But a technical writing is bound to have a reader, because a technical writing document is meant for a particular reader. He has demanded for that. For example, your teacher demands a particular assignment from you on chemical engineering. She's bound to read that. She doesn't love reading your assignments, but she's bound to read that because it's a kind of a technical writing assignment that she has to grade for. And in a company, in a corporate sector, when your boss asks you to design a proposal, to design a lab report, again, he is in need of some information. And because he's in need of some information, it's going to be a compulsive action that he's going to read the document. So the first main difference for an academic between academic writing and technical writing is that academic writing does not always have a reader, but a technical writing always has a reader. And the reader is pre-decided. So it helps you to design the document according to the choice, need, and demand of the client. What is the purpose of writing between academic writing and technical writing? And academic writing is there to entertain you, to make your life easy, to make reading fun, pleasure reading, as I mentioned earlier. It's there to persuade you, it's there to inform you. But a technical writing, information, persuasion element is there, but the most important element in technical writing is to provide research work. You cannot, you might say, design a technical document without doing prior research. You will have to go through the prior files. You'll have to go through prior emails. You'll have to discuss with a lot of people first. and then you would design the document. Academic writing has a definite purpose, and that definite purpose can be in the form of article, book, or assignment. But in a technical writing, a definite purpose is report writing. You have to report to the other person with your information. Whereas in academic writing, you are not answerable for any kind of writing that you have produced. Nobody can criticize you. Nobody can blame you for anything. But in technical writing, you can be blamed, criticized, and you can be questionable for certain parts. Also, when you talk about the format of academic writing has different paragraphs, and those paragraphs starts with traditional topic sentences. And then if there is a requirement, we add pictures to it. But a technical writing, it has some very important headings. Then those headings are going to have subheadings. Then also we'll incorporate bullets. We'll try to incorporate underlining and bold to help the reader in reaching to his desired information quickly. Because one important rule of technical writing is not to waste the time of the reader. Then in technical writing, for example, if you're writing resumes or CVs, or even if you're writing your lab reports or research proposals, you have to make sure that you're using the white space very wisely. Your spacing, your presentation is very important when you're designing a technical report. And as in academic writing, we have different pictures. In technical writing, we have illustrations, but illustrations in the form of graphs, tables, drawings. The more numerical figures are there, the more authentic a technical writing is. In academic writing, we write elaboratively. And the word elaborate over here means we try to give details about each and everything in academic writing through our words. Also in academic writing, we use a lot of transitions, such as when you say but, so, therefore. So when you start using a lot of transitions in your writing, that's academic writing, that's not technical writing. Because when you would introduce transitions in your technical writing, you would use bullets. You would not say so, hence, therefore. Of course, you can use them, but you will use them sparingly. Then, academic writing is more of subjective. Subjective over here means when you write an academic document, people ask about your opinion. They want to know about what you think about a particular problem. But in technical writing, they do not want to know what are your feelings related to the problem. Tell us practical solutions and tell us realistic problems. Okay, so technical writing would be more of objective writing. In an academic writing, because it's meant for pleasure reading, you can write sentences after sentences and you can generate umpteen meanings out of single idea. But in technical writing, you have to use non-sexist language. I'll just let you know what non-sexist language is in upcoming slides. And when you talk about sentence structure in academic writing, it has to be, of course, in academic writing, you can go for complicated sentences, go for long sentences with usage of but, hence, therefore, just to make your sentences long and long and long and keep on going on. You can use a lot of excessive words in academic writing, and you use passive voice in academic writing mostly. I went to the lab. It's going to be an active voice. The lab was visited by me. It is passive voice. So if you actually compare both the voices, you would realize that I went to the lab, active voice, is more clear to the comprehension. It's more quick for understanding. Whereas if you read the same sentence where the lab was visited by me, of course, it's not a very complicated statement again, but again, your mind would take some few more seconds to actually decode the message. And in technical writing, your sentence structure is uncomplicated. They are short sentences, not more than 6 or 7 words in a sentence, preferably. Interesting. Repetition is allowed in technical writing. How? Let me give you an example. Have a look at this sentence. The staff worked hard all year with the administrators. Give them a bonus. Now, who is them over here? the staff, or the administrators? Now, this is confusing. This sentence can be rewritten as the staff worked hard all year with the administrators. Give the staff a bonus. Now, did you notice over here the word staff is repeated over here? But this repetition was a required repetition because had you avoided the word staff over here, the meaning would not have been clear. Now, I just talked about non-sexist language in technical writing. Let's have an example of that. Non-sexist language means, or non-gender biased language in technical writing. Now, most of you would be using these words in your conversation or in your technical writing. For example, chairman, businessman, housewife, and when you are addressing a married female, you would say MRS doc. Now, when you are documenting a notification or when you're designing an email and you're using a lot of he and she, it makes you a conservative person. People feel like that you are biased towards one gender. For example, if you say all employees or submit their proposals by this date so that he would be given a bonus. Now, using the word he over here is controversial now. What if the females are also working in this company? So to make your writing neutral, you should be using so they would get a bonus instead of writing he only. Or you can also say he/she gets a bonus. That would make your writing again neutral. When we use such words, chairman, what if the person is a female? Are you still going to use the word chairman? Are you still going to use the word businessman if the person is a female? A male is sitting back at home and he's looking after the kids. Will you still call that person as housewife? Whenever you are trying to address a female, especially a married one, you always write or you address Mrs. So all these words that you've just witnessed have their neutral versions. And those neutral versions are chairman can be called as chairperson. Now that's good now. We are not able to identify whether it's a male or a female. A businessman can be called as business executive. Or my father looks after the house. While my mother is a professional lady, you can say homemaker. And that's the current term. So if you're still using the word housewife, you will be termed as outdated individual. When you will be communicating in writing, you would be saying MS dot, irrespective of the fact the female is married or not. And when you will be addressing a female, whether she's married or not, you would be saying miss. So make sure when you're writing a technical writing document, you are not documenting or suggesting your gender biased side. If the reader fails to understand the message, then you have failed as a writer. That was not the mistake of the reader. So in order to be an effective technical writer, make sure that you keep all these things in mind.